Welcome to another edition of the U1 podcast, Unscripted 101. I'm your host, DJ Briscoe, aka HDTV. And to check out this platform, very simple. Type in the word Beatfak Music, BEATFAK Platforms it's on, of course, Spotify for podcasters, Spotify, Apple, and of course, YouTube. Type in that word I just mentioned, Beatfak Music, and you will find it on the platform. So this podcast, week 3, recap, very quick, very simple. Not going to go on and on for an hour, but I will give my recap and also review some situations that have happened during this week 3 and some of the surprises. Let me get right to my week 3 guarantee pick, which was Washington over Cincinnati. The reason for that pick was simply because the spread was only 7 points. Cincinnati being one of the, supposed elite teams in the AFC and in the league, coming off another disappointing loss to the Chiefs, going 0-2 and going home playing a Washington team who's on the come up, who's rebuilding. And then you get that result. And of course, Washington winning 38-35, 33 minutes of ball control, all that stuff. I got to give Mr. Daniels an absolute round of applause for that pass to Tim McLaren. Wow. That play to seal it, that was a pro-style pass. And this kid's only going to get better. Jaden Daniels is only going to get better. He is only going to get better. And I'm very happy for this kid because there's a lot of ifs about him. But for the most part, there's always been pluses for me about him. So, so I got to give a shout out. On a quick note, Buffalo Bills, a lot of people, some of their fans doubted this team. And you should, based on the lack of moves that were made and coming into the season with a zero receiver, a number one receiver, your coach on the hot seat, giving up the reins to another personnel to potentially save his job, and then people talking about Josh Allen. I've always said Josh Allen's a top 5 quarterback. He's never failed. People need to calm down on the criticisms with him, just like the criticisms of other quarterbacks that I'm going to mention as the season goes along and as time goes through with this podcast. It's just ridiculous. If you're watching the game and watching it properly, criticizing and critiquing are two different things. This is a young man now. He's gone from a young kid to a young man. He's in his prime and he's doing things with his talent. With all the weapons that he has, all the pieces that he has, he's doing some amazing things right now. And them going 3-0 after that blowout win out over Jacksonville, it's no surprise that he's throwing so well. Now, blowing out Jacksonville, that's a whole different scenario. I had Jacksonville beating Miami in week 1 as my guarantee. Mr. Etienne fumbling the ball in the end zone basically just cracked that. But that's a whole different conversation for another day. Another interesting thing is the Chiefs against Atlanta. A lot of people are upset about that non-pass interference call that wasn't made, and it seems that it's been a trend for the Chiefs. Calls not being made by the officials during critical times of the game. Here's my take on that, and I think a lot of sports analysts don't really understand this, but I'm going to say this. Don't leave the game in the ref's hands. When I say that, yes, you're going to have weeks that are going to be competitive. There are going to be some games that are going to be gritty and grindy. It's going to go right down to the end. But for the most part, if you have an opportunity to blow a team out or put yourself in the position that you don't have to worry about the refs making a call to make the game close or whatever, then do so. Get the game over with, win the game, and I just felt that Atlanta's defense played very well. I felt that their offense was kind of, Of course, Kirk Cousins, that's a whole different conversation. But Mahomes didn't play well either. He didn't play well either at all. And that's a big problem. So, and Travis Kelce has been non-existent for the last, 7 or 8 games, including the Super Bowl. He had a couple of choppy plays, but he hasn't really been a Travis Kelce. I won't get into that, but yeah, he's become a non-factor. But the Chiefs, they found a way. They're 3-0, so, it's interesting. Minnesota, blowing out Houston. My guy, Brian Flores, my guy. Unreal. He should be a coach in the league. He should be coaching soon. He should be coaching. But with all the stuff that went on with Miami and all the other crap, blah, 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 it's very unlikely that he's going to get a head coaching job again unless somebody's willing to, give him a chance and allow him to be Brian Flores, the coach. Because if he's Brian Flores, the coach, things are going to happen. We saw things happen in Miami until management started to become the bully of all bullies, and things just changed. Tua had his little comments. Obviously, you saw what happened to him. Speedy recovery. But listen, man, a lot of things were said about Flores in defense of Tua, and I understand that, but we got to really keep our mouths closed when it comes to locker room stuff. Don't give the media information, because now the media is like, wow, they want to jump on the Brian Flores bandwagon. Calm down. You guys were hating on this guy almost 3-4 weeks ago when Tua came out with his statement. Now you want to ride the Brian Flores train? Hell no. Sam Darnold, what can I say? He's playing well, but it's a long season. There's 14 games left, including the playoffs and potentially a Super Bowl berth. So, long way to go. There are no contenders as far as I'm concerned. There will be none until we get closer to January. So just watch the games as they unfold and take it from there. Philadelphia, New Orleans game was just New Orleans not figuring out what to do in critical situations. They're not a bad team. Their defense is phenomenal. Of course, Dennis Allen being an architect and putting his input in that defense. And of course, Philadelphia doing their thing on defense also, keeping that game very, very close, back and forth. Philadelphia pulling out a win against New Orleans. You got to win those gritty games sometimes. Those 50-50 games are the ones that could really change your season, but they could also teach you something. So, good win for Philly. Dallas against Baltimore. What to say about that? My former team that I support and cheer for, Minnesota, defensive coordinator now for Dallas, Mr. Zimmer. I mean, he coached and put together some good defensive teams in Minnesota, and now everybody's ready to fire the guy. But I can tell you something, the personnel is not there either. Personnel is not there, and I just hope that they can get it going because Zimmer's a good coach. I mean, but he's an older guy too. He should be on the retirement edge. I mean, you got to give the young guys a chance, but that's Jerry Jones's team. Remember, he's a coach, GM, president, CEO, owner, dictator, scout, mouthpiece after press conference. He's everything, so it's not going to change. But Baltimore pulling off that win and letting Dallas get back into the game, they got to stop doing that. That's why they lost to the Raiders. And that game against the Chiefs was just another mess. The Ravens have had 3 messy games so far this season, and they need to get that stuff fixed and cleaned up soon, very soon, or they'll find themselves out. Because right now, going to the next game, we have the Steelers at 3-0. Now, how is that possible? How is it that the Steelers are 3-0 after a win over, I think it's the Titans? How is that possible? Well, it's possible because you know what? Justin Fields does exactly what he's supposed to do. Doesn't turn over the ball, doesn't do any bumblehead moves. And that's all it is. Once you keep the game very manageable, the play clock, keep the play clock in check, offensive coordinator keeps everything in check, you can't lose those games. Time of possession, you can't lose those games. So, it's very intriguing in the comments on that game. But right now, they're leading that division at 3-0. You got 1-2 Cleveland, you got 1-2 Baltimore, and 0-3 Cincinnati. So we'll see how that unfolds in the next 14 games. It's going to be very intriguing, to say the least. So we'll see how that goes. Sorry. The San Francisco 49ers and Los Angeles Rams. Mike Shanahan once again. Now, can you blame the defense? Well, I don't know. Can you? You fired Steve Wilkes, right? I'm just saying. Another fourth quarter collapse for Mr. Shanahan. 3 Super Bowls, and now this. I don't know what to say. And I'm not sitting here hating. If you guys have a problem with what I'm saying, go look at the numbers. The stats don't lie. It's not good. I'm just saying it. Is he just his dad's son? Of course he is. He's a very good offensive coordinator until you get to the Super Bowl. I'm being honest. Like, I'm not here to, I don't sit on this podcast to criticize people, but I will speak facts. He has absolutely proven he cannot win. Until he wins, then the conversation will be a different tune. But no, right now, no. Malik Willis in Green Bay, doing very well. I'm happy for Malik Willis, especially, how Tennessee was very supposedly professional with him, whatever. Matt LaFleur has done something with him, and I'm glad to see him doing what he's doing. Geno Smith also 3-0. I'm glad to see, at 33, his career is going in a fantastic direction. To see those things, Arizona and what's going on with Kyler Murray, despite the fact he's not committed to learning the playbook, I just hope that this young man gets it soon before it's too late. I think it's important to learn the game in such a way. And so hopefully him and Marvin Harrison Jr. could connect on multiple occasions and, give the fans some excitement. The Chicago Bears, it's a mess. It's a complete mess. Keenan Allen hurt again. No surprise. I expect him to be released at the end of the year. They got their 2 receivers locked up for the next 3 years. Caleb Williams, never been high on him, but I'm high on one thing with him. He wants to learn. You're not going to learn with that coach. There's a couple of coaches out there right now, including one in Buffalo named Joe Brady. I think a coaching change and getting a coach, an offensive-minded coach who could work with a quarterback, I think could be a very healthy dose of off-season intake for Caleb Williams and the rest of the offense. But yeah, that's just my whole overview on that. But enough of all the games and stuff like that. If you want to check the rest of the games, ESPN, thescore.ca, the Score app if you have it. All that stuff is available there. I do want to talk about Bryce Young before I sign out, and I think it's interesting because it's crazy how it's been for him the last couple of weeks. Of course, everybody by now knows that Andy Dalton took over the starting job and played very well against the Raiders, giving them their first win in a while. But I think for Bryce Young, I know there's been a lot of criticism. There's been a lot of jawing and whatever and blah, blah, blah. I think Bryce Young has just got to stay on his toes and take this opportunity to, get through it mentally first. Forget about the physical part, the mental part, because, when you're pulled out of something, this guy's been starting for how long? And all of a sudden they say, your time is up, Let's get somebody else in there. So, at the end of the day, he's just got to continue to learn and study in the film room and, and even watch tape of other quarterbacks. I know it's crazy when I say that, but he should be studying everything, not just from his mistakes, but other quarterbacks. And also, hopefully, he's getting input from other quarterbacks like Geno Smith and some of these guys who had to literally reboot their careers to get back on the, starting role. So he's going to be fine. I think his opportunity is going to come at some point. The Andy Dalton breeze is not going to last. You've seen too much of that with him. But yeah, so my respects and shout out to Bryce Young. Hopefully the young man gets an opportunity at some point in time to regain his spot and everything else. But I think I'm done talking for this edition of the Unscripted 101 podcast, this podcast will be available, of course, on the platforms mentioned. And then that's all, folks. Anyways, have yourselves a good week. Week 4 is about to begin in a few days. Giants, Cowboys, that's going to be interesting. And now I see that the spread is 6 for the Cowboys, so it'll be interesting. That's the wrap up, everybody. Have yourselves a good night. Respect. Peace.